early 19th century, patients were often admitted to asylums for a range of reasons, including severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, as well as conditions like depression, anxiety, and even alcoholism. The understanding of mental health at the time was limited, leading to a lack of accurate diagnosis and differentiation between different disorders. Consequently, some individuals were wrongly admitted due to societal prejudices, where behaviors considered unconventional or non-conforming were pathologized. Women who displayed signs of independence or non-conformity, individuals experiencing grief or trauma-related reactions, and those with intellectual disabilities were often erroneously admitted. Additionally, socioeconomic factors played a role, as individuals from lower social strata who couldn't afford private care were sometimes institutionalized for minor issues, further contributing to the improper admissions to asylums. The building's exteriors were often characterized by imposing architecture with grand facades and sturdy walls. The institutions were actually situated on spacious, tranquil grounds, surrounded by lush gardens or farmland. The layout aimed to establish a sense of seclusion to remove patients from the chaos of urban life. Placing asylums in rural or serene settings was believed to offer therapeutic benefits, as the peaceful environment was thought to aid in the patient's recovery by providing a break from the stresses of city life and facilitating a connection with nature. During their stay, patients often endured harsh and sometimes inhumane treatments. Methods like restraint devices, straitjackets, and isolation cells were used to manage perceived disruptive behavior. Patients might be subjected to hydrotherapy, where they were submerged in cold water or sprayed with hoses, and electroconvulsive therapy was introduced later in the century. More unethical experiments were occasionally inflicted upon patients, especially into the early 20th century, including untested drugs, insulin-induced comas, and even surgical interventions like lobotomies, all without informed consent. Lack of proper legal safeguards contributed to patients' confinement, some being admitted permanently. Once inside the system, even wrongly admitted patients often faced dependency on the institution, and their voice was ignored, making it extremely difficult to challenge their situation. One factual case of wrongful admission to a 19th-century asylum involves Elizabeth Packard. In 1860, her husband, a strict clergyman, had her committed to an asylum for expressing views that contradicted his religious beliefs. Despite Elizabeth's sanity, she spent 3 years enduring the harsh conditions of the asylum. During her confinement, she witnessed the mistreatment of other patients and experienced forced isolation and many obscene experimental therapies. Elizabeth's determination eventually led her to expose the injustices she and others faced, sparking public outrage and leading to her release. Eventually, a mental health reform movement began to gain traction in the mid to late 19th century, with various efforts and changes occurring over several decades. Advocates like Dorothea Dix began their work in the 1840s, who helped raise awareness about the poor conditions within asylums and advocating for more humane treatment. Elizabeth Packard's advocacy emerged in the mid-19th century as well, highlighting the need for reform through her personal experiences. The movement gained momentum through the latter half of the 19th century and continued into the early 20th century. Various laws and reforms were enacted in different countries and regions during this time, aiming to improve mental health care, establish legal protections for patients, and shift treatment approaches from confinement to rehabilitation and community integration.